and I may not. I'm thinking we left off, and I'm probably confusing this class with another class and put my sticky notes in the wrong place. I'm thinking we left off in here right after Tiresias comes in, and he and Oedipus are going back and forth. If anybody knows that that's wrong, I've got the right, okay. I have a feeling this is the one that's wrong. Okay, so I'm going to pick up around let's say 375 and fall, 376. So Tiresias says, I will never reveal my dreadful secrets, not to say your own. I've got secrets I'm not going to tell anybody about, and I'm not going to tell anybody about your secrets. Okay? Oedipus, you know and you won't tell? Oedipus is talking about the secrets related to Laius. You know who the killer was and you won't tell? You're bent on betraying us, destroying Thebes. Tiresias, I don't want to cause you pain, and I don't want to cause me any pain. Why? Because he knows if he brings pain to Oedipus, Oedipus is going to bring pain to him. You'll get nothing from me. You scum of the earth, you'd enrage a heart of stone. You won't talk? Nothing moves you? Come on, out with it. You criticize my temper, unaware of the one you live with. You revile me. You are unaware of the one you live with, and you revile me. Okay, the first part of that's pretty clear. He's implying there's something wrong with the person you live with. Let me rephrase that, because that implies there's something wrong in and of herself with Jocasta. That's not what he means. He means there's something wrong with you living with this person. But then he says, you revile me? Why? By saying you revile me, that's like saying something about me makes your stomach turn, makes you feel disgust, makes you belittle me. Right after the comment about the person you live with, Oedipus is implying you are the one to be reviled. Who could constrain his anger hearing you? What an outrage. You spurn the city. What will come, will come. Define fate. Okay? I don't know if I've put this up here before. Humanity. In the thought of the ancient Greeks, two powers above us, the gods and fate. Okay? Fate controls everything, with one exception, not the gods. Okay? Fate controls everything else but the gods. The gods see what fate has in store. And because they see what fate has in store, every now and then they kind of give humanity a little peep show. They give us a little glimpse of what's going to happen. Because what does humanity often tend to do? Well, if they think they know what's going to happen, they try to stop it from happening. And in trying to stop it from happening, they often cause what is supposed to happen. Okay? In other words, they play mind games with us. The line that I read just before I wrote this down, what will come, will come. That's pretty much fate. What will be, will be. What does that mean? You can't stop it. That is the central conflict in the play. Oedipus is the protagonist. Fate is really the antagonist. It's Oedipus against fate. Okay? So what will come, even if I shroud it all in silence. If I don't say a word, Tiresias is implying what will come at the end of this play is going to come anyways. It's almost like he's saying, I'm a minor character. I don't really matter. It will eventually be revealed. Okay? So, Oedipus, what will come? Notice, tell us. Reach into your bag of magic tricks, see within the endless depths of your all-seeing mind, and tell us. Why do people go to the oracle at Delphi? Oedipus does. His parents did. Laius did. Because they want to know something they don't know. And I'm not talking about, 2 + 2 = 4 kind of knowing. They want to know some deeper hidden secret, or what the meaning of something is, some event. Okay? We're not any different. Whenever there's a huge natural catastrophe, I don't mean, a wildfire. The wildfire in Maui, as horrible as that was, I don't mean like that. I mean like the tsunami that hit Indonesia in 2004 or so. 250,000 people, gone. Inevitably, after events like that, you will see articles in newspapers, on websites, etc., and people are asking, why did it happen? They're not asking about plate tectonics. They're asking, why did it happen? Why, God? Or, if God is good, why was this allowed to happen? They think there's some kind of meaning to that. What's the meaning? Okay? At least tell me what's going to happen. You're bound to tell me that. Nope. Do as you like, build your anger to whatever pitch you please. That is, build your anger, raise it, raise it, raise it. Pitch is talking about angle. Notice if it's 90 degrees, that's as high as it can go. Rage your worst. He goes, oh, I'll rage. I'll let loose. Now I see it all. Sight versus blindness. Light versus dark. 2 different ways of talking about this theme or this image. Okay? I see it all. What does he mean by see? Okay. This is both visual sight and perception. Understanding. What is Oedipus saying he sees? What he'll say in the next few lines. You helped hatch the plot. You did the work. You didn't kill Laius yourself. Not with your own hands. Given eyes, I'd say you did. That is, if you had eyes, you would have killed him yourself. Okay? So what is it Oedipus sees? What did what did the leader earlier say, and Crayon too, say about how Laius died? The guy came back, said there were thieves. He said, oh, conspirators. No, there weren't thieves. There was one murderer and there were conspirators here. Yeah, that's kind of what we thought, blah, blah, blah. Was there any evidence of that? Was there any basis for that supposition? No, there wasn't. Here, what has Oedipus done? He's jumped to a wild conclusion. Because what does he do? He accuses Tiresias. Now, if you remember the other day, when we talked about Tiresias, what's one of the hallmarks of his character throughout all Greek literature that I mentioned?
He's always right.
He's always right. He's never, ever been wrong. Okay? He's also never been accused of plotting. So, Tiresias, is that so? I charge you then, submit to that decree you just laid down. In other words, okay, you prompted me. Submit to the decree you just laid down. He wasn't there, but he knows what the decree was. From this day onward, speak to no one, not these citizens, not myself. You are the curse, the corruption of the land. Now, what does Oedipus think Tiresias is doing when he says that? He's responding like Trump on Twitter. You say something bad about Trump, what is he going to do? What do most people undo Twitter if you say something bad about them? You know, they fire off a salvo. And what happens? Take the salvo from Twitter, let's say international relations. 1 missile, 2 missiles, 5 missiles, nuke. Okay? It's just retaliation after retaliation. He thinks Tiresias is trying to shift blame. That's what he thinks is going on. That's what Oedipus thinks is going on. Again, Tiresias is a prophet. They've written down, a prophet tells two kinds of things. Foretells and forthtells. Speaks the future now and tells forth the truth. And again, in all of Greek literature where he is mentioned, he does both of those perfectly. He never lies. So he's just said, you're the curse. If we take it on the basis of his track record versus Oedipus's, you'd kind of have to bet on Tiresias being right. You think you can you're calling me the murderer? You think you can get away with this? I have already. Why? The truth with all its power lives inside me. Now he's essentially saying there, you can kill me, Oedipus, but killing me doesn't stop what? Or doesn't negate what? What I've already said. It doesn't kill the truth. Who put you up to this? Who primed you for this? Not your prophets. How does he describe the job, the work, the avocation, the calling out of a prophet? Who put you up to this means what? If I can pull it out. Who said I'll give you this to make this claim? Who paid you to say this? What's he asking for? The other conspirators. You did, right? Just let's play the tape back. Oedipus, just a couple minutes ago. You forced me, twisted it out of me. Well, say it again. So let me make sure I've got it correctly. You didn't understand? No, out with it. I say you are the murderer you hunt. Well, it's a little clearer. Before he said you're the corruption, you're the murderer. You murdered Elias. Twice. By God you'll pay. What is by God you'll pay? It's an oath. By the gods. He's suggesting the gods are on my side. You're going to pay for that. Tiresias, shall I say more so you can really rage? In other words, I've got a whole lot more. Do you want to really get angry with me? It's like the scene, I just now made the connection. It's like the scene in, for those of you who are familiar with them, in the 5th Harry Potter book, when Harry at the end of the novel, he's just filled with rage because someone close to him has died. And he's having a talk with Albus Dumbledore and destroying his office. And Dumbledore says, by all means, go ahead. He goes, but you're going to be a lot more angry when I finish telling you some things. Then you're going to be ready to kill me, and I'll let you. Okay? So, what is Tiresias doing? Let me give you the full story so you could be really mad. He says, go ahead. You cannot imagine. You Oedipus. You cannot imagine. ... Now there weren't ... dots in the ancient Greek text. They didn't have marks of punctuation like we think of. Okay? But there is a pause indicated somehow. You cannot imagine. I tell you, you and your loved ones live together in infamy. You cannot see how far you've gone in guilt. Loved ones, plural. You think you can keep saying this and not suffer? If the truth has any power, not for you. You've lost your power. Stone blind, like blind as a rock. Stone deaf. Don't you hear me? You're going to pay for this. Senses, eyes, blind as stone. I pity you, flinging at me the very insults each man here will fling at you so soon. Blind, lost in the night, endless night that nursed you. You can't hurt me or anyone else who sees the light. You can never touch me. He says, you're right. It's not your fate to fall at my hands. Apollo is quite enough. He will take some pains to work this out. In other words, Apollo's going to have to work hard to work out the kind of agony and suffering you are going to endure. Right? Then what does Oedipus do? So now he's accused Tiresias. Well, who brought Tiresias? Or who sent for Tiresias? Creon did. Creon. Is this conspiracy his or yours? Creon has nothing to do with this, Tiresias says. Creon is not your downfall. No. You are your own. You caused your own fall. And Oedipus goes on talking about power and such. 442 or so. Come here, you pious fraud. Tell me, when did you ever prove yourself a prophet? When the Sphinx? Did you solve the riddle of the Sphinx? No, he didn't. Where were you then? He says, and this is the man you try to overthrow? That is me, the one who solved the riddle of the Sphinx? You think you can kill me when the Sphinx couldn't kill me? You think you'll stand 455 by Creon when he's king? You and the great mastermind? Notice the leader intervenes. The leader here, he's that third speaker, okay, that I mentioned the other day that Sophocles kind of introduced to drama. What does the leader of the chorus try to do? These words were spoken in anger, meaning blow it off. He didn't mean it. What did the misfit say to the grandmother when Bailey says, I recognize you, you're the misfit, and Bailey just lets go with a string of obscenities. The misfit says, oh, he didn't mean that. Lady, sometimes men just say things when they're all upset and riled. Oedipus, leader says, 460. I would suggest his words were spoken in anger, Oedipus. Yours too. And it isn't what we need. Calm down and speak out of reason, not out of passion. The best solution to the oracle, the riddle posed by God. That's what we should look for. In other words, use all that great brain power you have, Oedipus, to figure out the riddle of the god, not the riddle of the Sphinx. Tiresias, you're the king, no doubt. Except in one respect, I am your equal. What does it mean? Because I am a citizen of Thebes, I have a right to reply. You cannot accuse me and just stop it there. You know, our modern legal right to confront our accusers goes all the way back to ancient Greece. Okay? So he says, I claim that privilege too. I'm not your slave. I serve Apollo. I don't need crayon to speak for me. So, you mock my blindness. He probably, according to some of the stories, was born without eyes. Just sockets, but no eyes. All right? You mock my blindness. Let me tell you this. You, with your precious eyes, you were blind to the corruption of your life. In other words, you have eyes, but you don't see. To the house you live in, those you live with, who are your parents? Where does that come from? Why does he throw out, who are your parents? What does he know nags still Oedipus's mind? There's a prophecy. You are fated to kill your father, sleep with your mother. He doesn't say, are Jocasta and Laius your parents? He says, who are your parents? Do you know? All unknowing, you are the scourge of your own flesh and blood. The dead below the earth and the living here above, and the double lash of your mother and your father's curse will whip you from this land one day, their footfall treading you down in terror, darkness shrouding your eyes, blah, blah, blah. So he's saying, when you leave here, you're going to be blind. Not blind like you are now. You're going to be physically blind. 479. Soon, soon, you'll scream aloud. What haven won't reverberate? In other words, there's going to be no place that Oedipus doesn't go to for refuge. And what's going to happen? He's going to be kicked out. Just as he called down on the people of Thebes not to give the murderer any shelter, any help, any aid, that's going to happen to him when he leaves Thebes. The day you learn the truth about your marriage, the wedding march that sang you into your halls, the lusty voyage home to the fatal harbor. Fatal. Involving fate. Not just involving death. What's a harbor? It's where ships dock, you know. They go out and they come back. The harbor is a place of safety. What's the safe harbor? The fatal harbor. He's going back from whence he came. Mama. And that's going to be his death. And a crowd of other horrors you'd never dream will level you with yourself and all your children. There. Now you have enough. Now you can be really angry. Go ahead. Smear us with insults. Crayon, myself, every word I've said. No man will ever be rooted from the earth as brutally as you. What does rooted mean? Pulled out by its roots. Whew, enough. Get out. Go back where you came from. I wouldn't have come, but you called me here. And that, he doesn't just mean, you rang and, he means you forced me to come here. If I thought you would blurt out such absurdities, you'd have died waiting before I'd had you summoned. Absurd? Maybe to you, but not to your parents. The ones who bore you found me sane enough. What's he doing? He's dropping these little breadcrumbs, these little hints. How did they find him sane enough? He was the one who brought the original prophecy. They believed him. Parent, who? Wait, who is my father? Why does he ask that question? He knows who his father is. His father is Polybus of Corinth. And yet now, he has doubt. Tiresias' words have planted doubt. What do you do with doubt? A question. You try to resolve it. Oedipus is the great question solver because of the riddle of the Sphinx. Tiresias knows if I plant this idea, he'll be like a dog with a bone. He's going to chew that sucker until he gets to the inside of it. This day will bring your birth and your destruction. It's going to bring your beginning, and it's going to bring your ending. Not ending in the sense of his death. His destruction in the sense of his status, his kingship, all of that. Okay? Riddles. All you can say are riddles. Murk and dark. Yeah, but you're the guy who's good at riddles. Come on, Oedipus. I mean, Oedipus has said. He's already emphasized, I'm the great riddle master, you know. Mock me for that? God, get out of here. So, Tiresias tells his attendant, take me away. He turns his back on Tiresias and starts to go into the palace. And Tiresias says, I will go once I have said what I came here to say. Who's he speaking this to? Not to Oedipus. Oedipus has turned his back and headed inside. He might hear it because he's not necessarily inside the palace at this point. But the chorus hears it, and obviously the audience all hears it. Chorus representing the people of Thebes. I will never shrink from the anger in your eyes. You can't destroy me. Listen to me closely. The man you've sought so long, proclaiming, cursing up and down, the murderer of Laius is here. A stranger, you may think, who lives among you. Why do you may think? You think Oedipus is foreign born. That's why. Who lives among you. He soon will be revealed a native Theban. He was born in Thebes. But he will take no joy in that revelation. Blind, who now has eyes, beggar, who now is rich, he will grope his way toward a foreign soil, a stick tapping before him, step by step. Remember the last part of the riddle of the Sphinx? What goes on 4 legs in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, and 3 in the evening? Man. Well, it's appropriate that Oedipus solves the riddle because he's going to be going soon with the cane. Oedipus goes inside. He doesn't hear the rest. Revealed at last, brother and father, both to the children he embraces. Even in 5th century BC, people hear that and kind of go, ew, that's disgusting. To his mother, son, and husband both. He sowed the loins his father sowed. He spilled his father's blood. Go in and reflect on that. Now, what is Tiresias probably unaware of? Oedipus doesn't hear that. He's gone inside the temple. Tiresias can't see. And if you find I've lied from this day onward, call the prophet blind. If I'm wrong, call me blind, which means don't call me prophet anymore. See, one of the meanings of the word prophet is a prophet can never be wrong. Old Testament prophets. One of the reasons they were prophets was not only God spoke to them, they were never wrong in what they said when they said, thus saith the Lord. Okay? All of that fulfilled, so to speak. So, Tiresias and his boy leave, and the chorus comes forward. Who is the man the voice of God denounces resounding out of the rocky gorge of Delphi? It's a horror too dark to tell. Well, the chorus heard everything Tiresias said. And now they're saying, who can it be? Why? Maybe the chorus doesn't want to accept the words of Tiresias. What's the problem with that? He's always been right. Okay. The skilled prophet, skipping a bit, line 550. The skilled prophet scans the birds and shatters me with terror. I can't accept him, can't deny him. I can't believe what he says, and I can't say he's wrong. Don't know what to say. I'm lost. In other words, we're in the dark. The light still has to be brought. Zeus and Apollo know. They know, the great masters of all the dark and depth of human life. 563. But whether a mere man can know the truth, whether a seer can fathom more than I, there is no test, no certain proof. Though matching skill for skill, a man can outstrip a rival. Not till I see these charges proved will I side with his accusers. That is, not till we have proof will we accept that Oedipus is the killer. Okay? Creon comes in. Why? He's heard that Oedipus has defamed him. And he says, I hear King Oedipus levels terrible charges at me. I had to come. I resent it. If he thinks he can get away with this, 580. The damage I'd face from such an accusation is nothing simple. No, there's something worse. Branded a traitor to all of you, my good friends. What's the leader try to do? Yeah, but a slur might have been forced out of him. By anger, perhaps, meaning he didn't mean it. But he made the charge in public, right? That I put the prophet up? Yeah, he did say something like that. We don't know what he really intended. Was his glance steady? Meaning, did he say it with his head steady and his eyes focused? If his eyes were rolling around in his head, then he was crazy. Was he crazy? No, I couldn't really say. I don't judge those in power. Why? Because I don't have the power. The leader doesn't want to take on Oedipus because what can Oedipus do? Easily. Okay? Doors of the palace open, out comes Oedipus. You here? Does he need to say anything else? I mean, just the simple tone of his words reveal that you have the gall to show your face before the palace gates. You plotting to kill me, kill the king. I see it all. The marauding thief himself. In God's name, what did you take me for? Did you think I would have... Creon, 607. Are you finished? Shut up. It's your turn to listen. Okay, they go back and forth. Creon's just trying to get Oedipus to shut up for a minute to listen to him. Okay? So, Creon, 619. This injury you say that I've done, what is it? How have I injured you? How have I wronged you? Didn't you tell me to bring the prophet in? The sanctimonious prophet? You go, yeah, and I'd do the same thing again. Okay, tell me. How long since Laius... What are you talking about Laius for? What does Laius have to do with Tiresias? Vanished. How long since Laius vanished? That was a long time ago. That far back, 628 or so, was the prophet at his trade? What does trade imply? Why do you go to work? Anybody? To get paid. You perform an action, you do a job, and for the work you do, you receive monetary gain. That's trade. Okay? Was the prophet then at his trade? What is Oedipus saying about Tiresias' prophecy or his prophetic nature? He only speaks when he gets paid. People don't trust, for example, a lot of people, some do, don't trust researchers who are paid to study something, like a new drug possibility, but they're paid for by the drug company. Why don't they trust those people? You're shaking your head no. Because you think they're being paid to push something, a particular thing.
If you're going in with expectations that you're getting paid to research this, and if you have a certain outcome, then they'll be really happy and might give you a bonus, and that's not real research. That's
Exactly. You know, and I was going to go on and talk about vaccinations, but I'm not going to touch it. So, what's his point? Tiresias was paid to prophesy. By whom? That's the important question. The person who paid him is the person who issues the prophecy, is his point. It's not from the gods. Okay? Skilled as he is today, and just as honored. In other words, he doesn't address the trade part. He says, yes, he was prophesying back then too. As skillful then as he is today, and just as honored. Did he ever refer to me back then? No, not that I'm aware of. But you investigated the murder, right? He says, yeah. Best we could, discovered nothing. And he never accused me then? Why not? What? Notice, Oedipus knows what Tiresias has said. Oedipus is the murderer. Why didn't he say anything back then? Is his point. Crayon, I don't know. And when I don't know something, I keep quiet. Slam. Oedipus, shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. You do know. You'd tell it too if you had a shred of decency. That is, you do know the truth. What? What do I know? If I know, I won't hold back. Simply this. If the two of you had never put heads together, we would never have heard about my killing Laius. Well, if that's what he says, if what is what he says, that you killed Laius, well, you know best. I mean, if he says you killed him, then you should know whether or not you've ever killed a man. That's not what Crayon says. The implication is you should know whether or not you've killed a man. What should Crayon follow? If we were kind of looking at this logically or trying to do a courtroom trial, what should Crayon then ask? Oedipus, have you ever killed a man? And Oedipus would have to say, yes. Oedipus, have you ever killed more than one man? And Oedipus would have to say, yes. Oedipus, have you ever killed a man old enough to be your father? No, he could maybe go, I'm not really sure. Okay, so. But now I have a right to learn from you just as you learn from me. He goes, go ahead, ask your questions. You're married to my sister, right? Overruled. What does this have to do with the problem? Yeah, okay. And you rule the land with her, right? She gets whatever she wants. And I'm the third. All of us are equals, right? Yeah. That's what shows, your falseness. You go, no. What is Crayon's whole point in this long speech that begins 651 and goes to the end of 690? Shut up, Oedipus. Just think about this for a minute. You're the king, she's the queen. You two rule equally, and I'm the third. That is, I rule equally with you, but without what? What does Oedipus and seemingly Jocasta have to do that Crayon doesn't? Imagine it's the president. Imagine it's Joe Biden and Jill Biden, and they have equal power, equal authority. And throw a third person in there. Joe Biden's brother Frank, or his brother James, either one. Okay? And that person also has the same authority, the same power. But what does Joe Biden have to do that the brother doesn't have to do? Solve the problems. In other words, Oedipus, not only has the power of the kingship, but he's the one who has to deal with the headaches of running the state. Crayon, what's he get? He gets all the perks, man. He gets to use Air Force One whenever he wants it. He gets all the benefit of the power with none of the responsibilities. So what's his point? Why the hell would I want your job? Why would I want you dead? If you're dead and I have to take it over, then I've got to spend my day filling out paperwork and answering people's questions and solving their... No. The leader. That's good advice. Those who jump to conclusions may go wrong. Jump to conclusions, not rationally arrive at them through logical processes. Oedipus, when my enemy, line 693, when my enemy moves against me quickly, plots in secret, I move quickly too. I must. I plot and pay him back. Pay him back? After 9/11, the Bush presidency, I was a staunch supporter of Bush. Not so much anymore. The Bush presidency came up with the idea, or this language at least, preemptive war. If you've ever seen the Tom Cruise film Minority Report, based on the Philip K. Dick short story, it's the same idea, okay? Preemptive war. You attack somebody else, why? Before you think they're going to attack you. What does that presuppose? Presupposes, one, that you know they're going to attack you, and two, that they are going to attack you. What happens if you preemptively strike and they weren't going to attack you? What happens? You become the attacker. Tables are totally turned. You become the thing you're attempting to not be, okay? So, that's why he says, I pay him back. But you don't pay him back if you're doing it first. Okay? Crayon finally says, what do you want? You want me banished? No, I want you dead. Well, at least there's a moment of honesty. Because banished, he could still be a problem. I want you dead just to show a grudge. So stubborn. You don't think I think you're insane. No, I'm quite sane on my behalf, but not in mine. See, what's the job of a king? Not a president, a king at this time who is not only judge, but jury and executioner. He says, it's your job to also think of my rights. You're my mortal. What if you're wrong? What if you're wrong, Oedipus? What if I'm not your enemy and you're wrong? I must rule. In other words, collateral damage. I have to rule. Not if you rule unjustly. Ooh, now we're getting into some weighty, dangerous stuff. What do you do when you have an unjust ruler? Oedipus, Thebes, listen to him. Why? Because Oedipus thinks Crayon is hanging himself with his own words. He's saying, I am unjust. At this period of time, 1000, 1200 BC, the king is the king, period. Has nothing to do with whether it's just or not. The king is the king by power, by force. Crayon, my city too. Because Oedipus said, hear him, Thebes, my city. My city too, not yours alone. The leader, again, tries to calm them down. Okay? Jocasta comes in. Oedipus's wife, he doesn't know yet, she's his mother, and Crayon's sister. Okay? She comes out and listens to her. Have you no sense? Poor misguided men, such shouting. Why this public outburst? Aren't you ashamed with the land so sick to stir up private quarrels? So she comes out of the palace and describe her coming out. A word that we don't use any today, but fits her perfectly, imperious. Like an imperial empress. She comes out and she just takes charge. She looks at Oedipus. Into the palace, now! Sounding like Mama. Crayon, get your ass home. Why make such a furor over nothing? Okay, this is telling us Jocasta isn't some shrinking violet. This is a woman who knows how to take control. Crayon, my sister, it's dreadful. I mean, the stuff Oedipus, your husband's been saying. Okay, I caught him in the act. Really? I caught him in the act. What act? Speech is an act. Plotting, about to stab me in the back. Oh, grandpa, never. I'd never have done any of you wrong you charged me with, Jocasta. Believe it, Oedipus. Honor the solemn oath he swears to heaven. See, in the ancient Greek literature, when someone makes an oath by God or the gods, that's kind of a last stand thing. They're saying, if I'm wrong, may the gods kill me now. And in various portions of Greek literature, someone makes a false oath and psst, they get zapped. Right then and there to show the gods have found fault with that person. Do it for me. And the chorus is like, what she says, follow her, you know. Oedipus and the chorus go back and forth. Oedipus takes everything the chorus to say to mean. You're saying I have to take it back. You're saying I have to apologize. You're saying I'm wrong, etc. Okay? So, Oedipus tells everybody to leave. Crayon leaves, line 750. Chorus turns to Jocasta. And she says, tell me what happened. Loose, ignorant talk started dark suspicions and a sense of injustice. Loose, not contained, not constrained, not thought out. Ignorant, not knowing. To be told that you're ignorant is not something bad, unless it's about something you really know a lot about. If someone were to call me ignorant about particle physics, I'd say, yep, admit it totally. Recording industry, totally I understand it, okay? Totally, you're right. So, she says, both sides? They both said stupid, ignorant things? Yeah. What'd they say? Okay. Chorus goes out, and we're left aside with Jocasta and Oedipus. And she says, for the love of God, tell me what's wrong. Why this rage? Rage. What kind of emotion is rage? It's uncontrolled. It's uncontrollable. Think Abner Snopes. They're latent, ravening ferociousness. Okay? It's a character aspect of Oedipus. Some have said that's Oedipus's, to use that mistranslation that I mentioned the other day, that's also described in your book, it's his fatal flaw. It's he just flies off at the handle. You say something bad, he's ready to kill you. There's no intermediary. He goes from being okay to homicidal, right? He says, okay, I'll tell you. He looks at the chorus. It's Crayon's fault. Speak, okay? He says, Tiresias says I murdered Laius. How does he know? That is, calmly, what's the evidence? some secret knowledge, or simple hearsay? Well, he doesn't say Tiresias. He said, Creon says I murdered Laius. Well, okay, Creon didn't say it himself. Tiresias said it. He goes on. Yocosta 778. A prophet? A prophet told you this? Well, okay. Let me tell you right now, Oedipus. Listen to me and learn some peace of mind. No skill in the world, nothing human can penetrate the future. Here's proof. Okay? Here's my proof to you. There is no such thing as prophecy. An oracle came to Laius one day. I'm not going to say it was from Apollo, but his underlings, his priests. Notice what she's kind of suggesting there. I'm not blaming the god. I'm blaming the priests for saying this. And it declared that doom would strike him down at the hands of a son. Our son, in fact, to be born of our own flesh and blood. But Laius, as the report goes, was killed by strangers. Okay? So, what should Oedipus think when he hears the first part of what she says? A prophecy came to Laius that our son was going to kill him. I am fated to kill my father. I'm a son, father, son, father. Little alarm bells ought to just kind of start to in his mind. But he was killed by strangers, not one person. What's her point? Prophecy was wrong, right? Because one son cannot morph into multiple strangers. My son, he wasn't 3 days old, and the boy's father. So this isn't after he died. She's going back to when her son was born. He wasn't 3 days old, and the boy's father fastened his ankles. That's the nailing, according to other sources. He nailed, big long nail, between Oedipus's ankles. So outside of the right ankle, inside the right ankle, inside of the left ankle, outside of the left ankle. He's called Oedipus because Oedipus means clubfoot. What's a clubfoot? It's a foot that is swollen. The reason his feet are swollen is because when that nail was removed, the way bones heal themselves is they accrete, they build more bone, calcium. So he's got these big knobs on either side of both ankles. That's why he walks with a limp also. Okay? So, and it had a henchman fling him away on the mountain. See, my son couldn't have done it. So much for prophecy. Not Apollo. Apollo wasn't wrong, but those priests, you can't trust those damn priests. Oedipus. Strange. Hearing you just now, my mind wandered forth. My thoughts racing back and forth. Back and forth from what? Back and forth from his past, his history, to right now. What's wrong? You said Laius was killed where? And she had said, at a place where 3 roads meet. Like that. The place is called Focis. Literal, it's where our modern English, F-O-C-U-S, focus, the focal point, where everything comes into proper focus and you can see clearly. Where? And she says, yeah, it was Focus. 2 branching roads meet, one from Dahlia, one from Delphi, and they make a crossroads. When? How long ago was this? Let's see. Heralds no sooner reported Laius dead than you appeared. So, the one surviving person that we were told about earlier makes his way to Thebes, and shortly after that, Oedipus appears. So it's like seemingly there's a problem chronologically, because when does the Sphinx come? All right. You appeared and they hailed you king of Thebes. My God, what have you planned to do to me? Why does he say that? What does Oedipus know he has done? He knows he killed a man at that very location. He doesn't know that that man was Laius, but he knows he killed a man. Okay? What's wrong, Oedipus? Not yet. What does it mean, not yet? I don't see it all. Up here, seeing, not with the eyes. Describe Laius. What do he look like? Had he reached his prime? She says, swarthy. Why? Because he's Greek. Dark olive skin, dark hair. Gray had just begun to streak his temples. Build, kind of like yours. Ow, damn, that one stung. Oh, no. I think I've just called down a dreadful curse upon myself. I simply didn't know. Remember my definition of tragedy? When the tragic character is forced, not by a person, by circumstances, to make a decision and take an action without having the necessary information. You could say that decision or that action is when he runs away from Corinth. Or you could say that decision or that action is when he meets Laius at that crossroad. If Laius had had a big banner out front that said, I am Laius, father of Oedipus, wouldn't have happened. Of course, Laius and Jocasta aren't the ones who named him. He was named by his new parents. Why? Club-footed boy. I shudder to look at you. I have a terrible fear the blind seer can see. I'll know in a moment. One thing more, that is another piece in the puzzle. What? Tell me. Did he go with a light or heavy escort? Several men at arms, like a lord, a king? 5. 5 in the party, herald among them, and a single wagon carrying Laius. So, 5 in the party, herald among them. Some take that to mean like 5 guards and a herald, or 5 guards including the herald. So there were either 6 or 7 total, including Laius. All right? That's like, oh, now I can see it all clear as day again up here. Who told you this? A servant who came home, the lone survivor. So is he still in the palace? She goes, no, as soon as you got here, he has to be reassigned to Siberia. Can we bring him back? Well, we could. I got to see him. She goes, what's torturing you? And so we get the backstory. We get the exposition. Okay, I had drawn it, I think I drew up here, in that one video lecture, the portrayal of tragedy like this, and here you get the exposition and the conflict, all introduced, F-L-I-C-T, all introduced, and you reach the climax here, and it's at here that you get the turn or reversal, which comes as a result of the recognition that Aristotle talks about, and then you get the unraveling and the denouement. This is the beginning of the recognition and reversal. He's starting to recognize, to understand, all right? And what does he do? He tells her his story. My father was Polybus, king of Corinth, blah, blah, blah. We get the stuff about the party, hearing the drunk, running off to the oracle at Delphi, okay? Running away, coming to this location, killing a man on a wagon and several of his men. But he says, line 899, if there's any blood tie between Laius and this stranger, what man alive more miserable than I? If there's any blood tie between the man I killed here and Laius, He says, I'm the most miserable man on earth. More hated by the gods. I am the man, no alien, blah, blah, blah. Wasn't I born for torment? Line 910. Look me in the eyes. I am an abomination. Blah, blah, blah. Okay? So, the leader says, Oedipus, stop. You're scaring the hell out of us. I mean, this has really got us worried. Okay? At least wait until a witness comes. Oedipus, you're right. You're right. He's my last hope. And then what? Jocasta asks. Oedipus, I'll tell you. If his story matches yours, I've escaped the worst. Okay? She's like, why? What did she say? Laius was killed by what? More than one. If his story matches yours, I'm free. Why? Because I'm not more than one. When I killed the man on the wagon, it was myself. Tells you something about Oedipus. Back when he was younger, pretty powerful guy in order to kill 6 men. You said thieves. He said a whole band of thieves. She goes, yeah. He can't take it back now. Okay. She says, 943 or so, he could never make the murder of Laius truly fit the prophecy. Apollo was explicit. My son was doomed to kill Laius. What's her point? Even if you killed Laius, let's assume for a moment it was you, Oedipus. Next logical step, you were not my son. How do we know? We killed my son.
Okay, so if he, thought maybe he had killed somebody who's old enough to be his dad, would she look old enough to be his mom?
Yes.
So, why, whenever he married her, why didn't he, logically think, she looks a little old for me.
How old does that mean she has to be?
Right.
I mean, literally 13, 14 years older.
Because I feel like that'd be noticeable. I don't know.
She's the queen. People are offering him the kingship. Hey, man, take it. I mean, it's not like she's 40 years older than him. The implication is when they meet, because he's conquering hero and stuff, she's the queen, she's still desirable, she's still beautiful, but she's the queen, which in and of itself, that makes her desirable, the power and all that kind of stuff. To me, let me go back to the flip side of that. You've received this prophecy. You're Oedipus. What 2 things do you never do in your life? Even if you think you've run away from home.
Kill an older man or marry an older woman.
Bingo! You never kill a man that is possibly old enough to be your father. So, before you get, how old are you? You ask. And before you hop into bed with her, how old are you? And if she's old, better not. Those 2 things. Plus, what did Laius and Jocasta not do themselves? You received the prophecy they received. I'm a Christian. Life is sacred. I received that prophecy, and I believe this stuff in ancient Greece. My wife and I are having our first child. Guess what I'm going to do as soon as that baby is delivered? I'm going to kill it myself, not give it to somebody else to do. There's a phrase that applies here. If you want a job done right, do it yourself. But Laius doesn't do that. So it's not all Oedipus's fault per se, So Oedipus says, yep, that shepherd, it all comes down to him. Right? Chorus comes in, destiny, guide me always. Destiny, find me filled. Great laws tower above us. It's talking about the gods. Okay? Pride breeds the tyrant. That is, pride puffs up the tyrant and such. And they go on, and they talk about how people can live in this horrible world. And Jocasta comes out. And she decides to visit the temple of the gods. So she comes out, she has an offering. Oedipus is beside himself. Think literally what that phrase means. To be beside yourself. So I'm here and I'm beside myself. What does that mean? I'm split, like split personality. I'm divided. I am not whole. I'm not complete. All right? She said, man, he's racked with anguish and guilt and blah, 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 blah. So a messenger comes in. A messenger comes in and says, can anybody tell me where Oedipus lives? And the leader said, well, yeah, he's inside here. Okay? And he starts talking with Jocasta. And she says, and who are you? Why have you come for him? He goes, I've got great news for him. I'm from Corinth, by the way. Now, what does she know about Oedipus in Corinth? Because Oedipus told her this in that exposition. I'm from Corinth. My father is Polybus. Mother's Merope, king and queen of Corinth. Messengers from Corinth. He brings good news. Okay? So the messenger says the people want to make Oedipus the king. What's wrong with Polybus? Oh, he's dead. It's, oh, go tell Oedipus. Why? Another nail in the coffin of prophecy. If Polybus is dead and Oedipus has been here, Oedipus couldn't have killed him, is what she's thinking. You prophecies of the gods, where are you now? This is the man that Oedipus feared for years. So Oedipus comes out. He and the messenger go back and forth. And Jocasta's there, and he talks about the prophecy and such. And Oedipus says, but my mother's dead. I mean, come on. I can't just wipe that away. She goes, line 10, what line is it? Oh, 10 something, 70 something. What should a man fear? It's all chance. Chance rules our lives. What does that mean, chance? Remember when I was discussing existentialism and nihilism? It's kind of all that stuff wrapped up. It doesn't make any sense. You just got to take what comes. Not a man on earth can see a day ahead, groping through the dark. Why is it groping through the dark? Because where's the day ahead? It can't be seen, folks. It's totally beyond our literal purview. Better to live at random best we can. And as for the marriage thing with your mother, don't worry about that. Many a man before you in his dreams has shared his mother's bed. Take such things for shadow. Nothing at all. What does she mean? It's just a stupid dream. It doesn't mean anything. And yet, Sigmund Freud creates largely modern psychoanalysis out of it, which is based largely on the Freudian complex. The Oedipal complex. Oedipus says, yeah, that's easy for you to say. But my mother's still alive. I don't want to sleep with my mother. Okay? But your father's death, that should bring you some peace. Wow, that's cold. He goes, yeah, that's good, but I'm still alive. That is, I can still fulfill part of it. And the messenger's like, what? What? Sorry, I didn't hear you. You're worried about a prophecy? And he goes on and tells them the prophecy. He goes, you're afraid of that? Yeah. My father, 1090-something, 1097. I wanted to kill my... That's what... Well, let me put your heart at ease. He says... You've nothing to fear, 11:12. Why? I'm their son. Polybus was nothing to you, not in blood. What you mean Polybus was not my father? No more than I am. Well, obviously the messenger isn't his father. He and I are equals. How can you call yourself an equal to the king? You're nothing to me. And so was Polybus to you. And he just learns Polybus was not his father. Ergo, Merope was not his mother. Ergo means therefore, he ran away from Corinth for no reason. Then how did he call me his son? Oh, you were a gift. I gave you to him. How did you get me? I found you, Mount Kithaeron. It's like right outside the city of Thebes. What were you doing here? Passing through? Watching over my flocks, grazing? How did you find me? Oh, there was another shepherd. He gave you to me. I don't know who that was, because Jocasta kind of wants to know too. You didn't find me yourself, 1141? No, sir, another shepherd passed you on. Let's see, who's that guy he worked for? Larry? No, not Larry. Leroy? No. Laius, that's who. And Jocasta turns towards him, sharply, we're told. King of the land who ruled here long? Yep, that's him. Does anyone know who that herdsman is? And the leader says, you know, come to think of it, that's the guy you sent for. The one who came back and told us about Laius' death. And Jocasta says, just stop. Old shepherd, old man, they're senile. Don't stop in the name of God. 1163 and following. If you love your own life, call off this search. My suffering is enough. What does she mean my suffering is enough? Enough for her? Yeah. I think she's saying her suffering is enough for both of them. Call off this search. My suffering is enough. Assume for the moment he calls off the search. What does that mean is going to happen for the rest of their lives? Are they suddenly going to become celibate? I don't think so. I think Jocasta is saying, we'll just go on the way we have been. With her having total, complete knowledge. And Oedipus, not. Don't do this, she says, 1168. He says, I have to. I must know it all, must see the truth at last. No, for your sake, no. You're doomed. May you never fathom who you are. Man, skipping a little bit, 1176, man of agony, that is the only name I have for you. That and no other. Notice, not son, not husband. Man of agony. And she rushes through the palace. And the leader's like, wonder where she's going, rushing off like that, full of passion. Oedipus, let it burst, because the leader finishes with, something monstrous may come bursting forth. Something's going to happen as a result of her doing that. Oedipus, I must see my origins face to face. He should go back inside the palace then, right? That's his origins. So the messenger comes in, the herdsman. He and the shepherd talk. The shepherd gets him to admit he was the one there. Oedipus, threatens him with pain and torture. And the shepherd says, in response to Oedipus's, the child you had, was it a slave born of his own blood? I'm right at the edge, the horrible truth. I've got to say it. The shepherd is saying that. Oedipus. And I'm at the edge of hearing horrors, but I must hear. All right, they said it was his son. Your wife could tell you best. She gave you the baby? Yes. To do what? To kill it. Who was it? Her own child. Yeah. Why? Prophecies. Oh God, 1306. All come true. All burst to light. O light, now let me look my last on you. I stand revealed, cursed in my birth, cursed in marriage, cursed in the lives I cut down with these hands. Okay? Oedipus rushes in the palace. Chorus comes out. Messenger comes back out. Different messenger comes back out of the palace and tells us what has happened to Jocasta. One little thing. In the ancient Greek theater, any kind of death always happens off stage. It wasn't thought to be appropriate, decorous, for people to see somebody get killed. Okay? What does the messenger tell us Jocasta did? She ran inside, and she does two things. Take that back. She does one thing. She gets her veil or sash or something and hangs herself. Oedipus runs in and he finds her body swaying. Okay? And they come out, Oedipus comes out, and Oedipus has gore running from his face because he's gone up to her body and he's pulled off these two pins with big stick pins on them. They're brooches with stick pins. And he takes those off stage, back in the palace, sticks them in his eyes, and does this. Gouges his eyes out. Why? Because he's metaphorically been blind the whole entire play, his whole life. Now he's saying, now that I see, I'm going to be blind. And he blinds himself. Okay? Oedipus comes out, says, I am agony, etc., etc. He talks back and forth with the chorus and with Creon. They say, what a horrible thing you've done, blah, 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 blah. Oedipus gives a big, long speech beginning 1499, goes all the way to 1549. Okay? Talks about how he can't look at his children anymore. When he dies and goes down to death, he won't have to look his parents in the face because he'll still be physically blind. And he can't bear to see them because of everything he's done. Okay? He kind of blames the gods. Kind of, not really, because it's still dangerous. And Creon comes out. And Oedipus is like, what can I say to Creon? I accused him of this. Okay? How does Creon behave when he comes out? How does he act towards Oedipus? He acts with mercy and compassion. This is important. Because we're going to meet Creon early on in the next play, Antigone. Okay? So Oedipus and Creon go back and forth, and Oedipus has some demands. They're kind of demands. And Creon's like, just leave. Just go away. I want to see my daughters first. So his two daughters, Antigone and Ismene, are brought out. Oedipus, lays his hands on them, kisses them, and the play ends with Oedipus saying to them, come to these hands of mine, your brother's hands, your father's hands. They're young, they probably don't quite understand that. And weeps for them, okay? He leaves. He tells Creon, 1649, don't let them go begging, don't let them be abandoned, they're women, etc. They're your own flesh and blood. Don't bring them down to the level of my pains. What's his point? They're not to blame for any of this. They've not sinned. They've not done anything wrong. They haven't missed the mark anywhere. They're merely the consequences. Okay? Treat them well. Creon, don't worry. So Creon tells him, time's the great healer. Oedipus leaves. And when he leaves, he's crying, don't take them away from me, talking about his 2 daughters. No, no, no. The guards take the daughters away, and Oedipus goes through the palace doors. Creon, 1675. Still the king, the master of all things. No more. What does he mean? The master of all things, no more. It's one of the issues Sophocles is raising. Oedipus thinks he controls his life. He thinks he can escape fate. Creon is saying, you can't. No more. Here your power ends. None of your power follows you through life. Oedipus and Creon both go inside, and we're left with the chorus. Chorus gets the last words. Every Greek tragedy, chorus gets the last words. They are announcing to the audience what they've just seen and what it really all means. This really makes you want to just go out and celebrate life. People of Thebes, my countrymen, look on Oedipus. Another translation says mark Oedipus. And mark means pay particular attention. Okay? For the simple reason that any one of us could be Oedipus. That's one of the important things of drama, according to Aristotle. Any one of us can become the tragic hero on the basis of the decisions and actions we take. He solved the famous riddle with his brilliance. He rose to power, a man beyond all power. And in Aristotle's On Poetics, he says the tragic hero can't be somebody born king. Has to be somebody who rises in life. Somebody who starts off, mid-level and achieves greatness. He solved the famous riddle with his brilliance. He rose to power, a man beyond all power. Who could behold his greatness without envy? Who would look at that and not go, man, I wish I could be like that? Because that's what every great tragedy does. It makes you look at the tragic hero before the fall and go, I wish I could solve those kinds of riddles. I wish I had those kinds of brains. Now, what a black sea of terror has overwhelmed him. Now, as we, the people of Thebes, keep our watch and wait the final day. What's that mean, keep our watch? Live. We go in and out our daily lives, and we wait for what? Death. Now, as we keep our watch and wait the final day, last line, count no man happy till he dies, free of pain at last. What's Sophocles' point there? Any of you familiar with the film Princess Bride? What does what does Prince Humperdinck say at one point to the princess? Life is pain, Highness. And then you die. Count no man happy. You want real happiness? You're not going to get it here. That's what Sophocles / the play is saying. Okay, we'll stop there. I'll put up a quiz, if I haven't already. I don't think I have. The quiz is going to be over all of Oedipus and the background kind of stuff to Greek drama. I know I mentioned the other day I would. It slipped my mind. And I wanted to do one over the whole play. That'll be due, today's Thursday. I'll make that due Sunday. Remember, you've got an exam due tomorrow, okay? Which I'm going to grade those quizzes that were due last night as soon as I get home. So use the quizzes to help study for it. Read, you've got the link to the PDF for Antigone on the syllabus. So print it out, read it, and we'll start discussing it on whatever the day is, Tuesday.